Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're completely setting aside the esoteric, new age reputation of meditation, and we're diving straight into the hard biological science behind mindfulness. We're going to look at this like a premium health documentary, exploring exactly how just a few minutes of focused attention physically alters your brain's architecture, modulates your nervous system, and fundamentally changes how your body ages. It even optimizes your sleep architecture and your gut-brain axis. So, if you really want to understand the profound interconnectedness of your mental health, your cognitive performance, and your cellular biology, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Look, we are all living through this modern epidemic of chronic stress, digital overload, and just constant attention fragmentation, right? And this continuous state of hyperarousal, it takes a very real physical toll on our biology. But what if the antidote isn't some complex pharmaceutical, but a highly specific, trainable mental state? What if a 5-minute daily habit could literally serve as a neuroprotective shield? To answer that, we've got to look at some truly groundbreaking MRI research from neuroscientist Sara Lazar over at Harvard Medical School. Now, it's been pretty much accepted in biology that as we age, our frontal cortex, that area of the brain vital for memory and executive function, well, it thins out. But Lazar found something completely astonishing. When looking at the brain scans of 40 to 50-year-old individuals who had a consistent meditation practice, she discovered they had the exact same amount of cortical gray matter as 25-year-olds. They had literally halted the age-related physical deterioration of their brains. Which brings us to Section 1, the power of 5 minutes, and looking at accessible microhabits. This brings us to a really crucial reframe. We've got to stop viewing mindfulness as this massive lifestyle overhaul that requires, sitting cross-legged on a mountaintop for an hour. Instead, let's lock in our definition. As clinical pioneer John Kabat-Zinn defines it, it is simply the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose and non-judgmentally. That's the whole shebang. And notice what isn't in that definition. There is absolutely no requirement to completely clear your mind. Unless you happen to be a levitating monk, that's just a frustrating myth. It's simply the act of observing the present moment, including your wandering thoughts, without judging them. It's attention training. And honestly, the clinical efficacy of this attention training is staggering. A recent rigorously controlled study out of Georgetown University Medical Center compared an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program directly against escitalopram, which is a very common standard of care antidepressant medication. The results? The brief daily mindfulness practice was just as effective as the medication in treating anxiety disorders. It is a powerful testament to how behavioral microinterventions can rival pharmacology. Let's move into Section 2, rewiring the physical brain, and check out the biological impact. So, what's actually happening under the hood here? Well, these are the results from absolute beginners. Sara Lazar ran a second Harvard MRI study, but this time taking people who had literally never meditated before and putting them through an 8-week program. The structural brain growth was incredibly rapid. They saw increased volume in the hippocampus, which controls learning and memory, and growth in the temporal parietal junction, which governs empathy. But the benefits didn't stop there. They cascaded right into the autonomic nervous system. We're talking decreased blood pressure, improved heart rate variability for better oxygen transport, and even a measurable boost in antibody production when exposed to the flu virus. It turns out your brain and your immune system are deeply, deeply synchronized. But the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the root cause of this systemic healing. A massive review of 29 different clinical trials revealed that mind-body exercises actually reduce markers of systemic inflammation and boost BDNF, which is a crucial protein for your brain's health. How? By disrupting mental rumination. When we ruminate, we passively dwell on distress, right? And that locks the body's HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, into a permanent on state. This floods your body with cortisol, driving chronic neuroinflammation, totally disrupting your circadian sleep cycles, altering your gut motility, and accelerating cellular aging. Mindfulness acts as a circuit breaker. By anchoring your attention, you turn off the HPA axis, halting that inflammatory cascade right at its source. All right, Section 3, the science of mindful walking, merging movement and mindfulness. But what if you're someone who just really struggles to sit still? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the physiological and cognitive differences between seated meditation and mindful movement. While seated meditation offers deep metabolic relaxation, walking actually increases cerebral blood flow and oxygenation to the brain through light muscular activation. Instead of anchoring entirely on your breath with your eyes closed, mindful walking demands dynamic proprioception. That means actively feeling your joints articulate and noticing the sensory data of your surroundings with open monitoring.
It's a dual pathway to lowering cortisol. You get the metabolic regulation of physical exercise combined with the attentional disruption of mental rumination. The empirical evidence for this dual pathway is just striking. In a 4-week clinical trial looking at highly distressed individuals, the group assigned to a mindful walking intervention saw a massive 8.8-point drop in their perceived stress score. Compare that to the control group, which only saw a negligible 1-point change. The researchers found that combining light, intentional physical movement with conscious awareness creates a dramatic, measurable drop in psychological distress, which fundamentally improves the participants' health-related quality of life. Moving into Section 4, Mindfulness in the Workplace, and looking at the corporate ROI. Now, you might be wondering, how does all this neurobiology and stress reduction actually translate into the real world, particularly in our modern, high-pressure professional environments? Because we're facing a massive structural problem in our workforce right now. 83% of U.S. workers report being chronically stressed. This state of constant doing mode, characterized by rapid multitasking and cognitive fragmentation, is incredibly taxing on the human body. It leads to emotional exhaustion, burnout, and a reliance on automatic pilot that completely degrades your focus. The economic fallout of this, it's costing U.S. businesses an estimated $300 billion annually. And this builds a rock-solid business case for mental fitness. Mindfulness isn't just some fluffy corporate wellness perk anymore. It is a massive economic and structural advantage for elite performance. Just look at Aetna. A structured mindfulness program there led to a 7.3% reduction in employee healthcare costs. Google has documented noticeable boosts in employee focus and creativity. In a time manufacturing setting, mindfulness positively correlated with total output and work quality. Across the board, studies show that integrating brief, mindful pauses lowers workplace stress by 32%. And the cognitive performance benefits of movement-based mindfulness? They are literally off the charts. Research on creative cognition indicates that mindful walking can increase creative output by an astounding 81%. And here's the best part. This cognitive boost persists even after the individual returns to a seated position at their desk. It's basically a biohack for cognitive flexibility and problem solving. Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, your daily mindful toolkit. Actionable strategies you can use today. So how do we actually turn this wealth of scientific data into practical action? The first tool is the 5-minute morning routine, and it's incredibly simple. Find a comfortable place to sit, close your eyes, and focus entirely on the physical sensation of your breathing. When your mind wanders, and trust me, it absolutely will, simply notice it without judgment and gently bring your focus back. That act of returning your focus, that is the bicep curl for your brain. Remember, when it comes to neuroplasticity, consistency and dose response are way more important than long drawn-out sessions. Just 5 minutes every day will yield structural brain changes over time. The second tool is the mindful walking protocol. And no, you don't need a pristine forest or a mountain trail for this. A hallway or just a 10 to 15 pace path works perfectly. Walk naturally, but consciously shift your attention away from your thoughts and down into your feet. Notice the sensation of lifting, moving, and placing each foot. Open your senses to the ambient temperature, the sounds of the office, or the street outside. This is a perfect micro break to use when you're transitioning between deep work tasks, actively downregulating your cortisol and clearing out that cognitive fatigue. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We've explored the hard science, the MRI scans, and the clinical trials proving that your attention dictates your biology. Every single day presents dozens of micro opportunities to shape your brain architecture. So tomorrow at work, when you get up from your desk, will your next walk to the water cooler just be another moment lost to mental rumination and distraction? Or will you use it as an opportunity to actively rewire your brain? The choice and the science is now entirely in your hands. Thank you for joining me on this explainer.